if you listen to a person with understanding and work with them about things they're passionate about, it's the best feeling in the world. And that's something I learned about people.
Welcome to the Breathing Brand Podcast, where we uncover the heartbeat of successful brands, exploring the stories that define who we are and why we do what we do, where every breath counts. Once again, everyone, welcome to the Breathing Brand Podcast. I am so excited to have a friend on the show today. Her name's Jean Rakich. Let me take a minute to just brag on Jean, okay? Although she's recently retired from several leadership positions, Jean's overall passion is in adult leadership development. She's been involved globally in many mentoring programs and innovation projects and client-focused programs. She enjoys being on teams that develop offerings to help their clients' businesses grow and prosper. She believes that listening to clients and employees makes a tremendous difference in your success. Jean has an accounting degree from the University of Toledo and an MBA from Bowling Green State University, my alma mater. She was voted as one of the most powerful women in the accounting profession 5 years in a row from the CPA Practice Advisor while serving as a senior director at Thomson Reuters Tax and Accounting. She was also on the local board of ASTD, the American Society for Training and Development, in Ann Arbor, Michigan, serving as president. Today, that organization is known as the ATD, or Association for Talent Development. Listen, I've known Jean for quite a while, and whenever we've had the opportunity to work together, she has shown just her immense care for not only what she's communicating, but how she communicates it. That's why I think you'll gain a lot of perspective from our conversation with her today. So welcome, Jean.
Thank you, Jeff. I'm excited to be here. Thanks for asking me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think as we have this conversation around breathing brands and what that means for organizations, I have always found it a very rich connection, or there should be rich connections to why a company is in business. It started off with a founder, an entrepreneur that said, hey, I have this idea. I feel really passionate about it. And now I want to bring other people into this mix. I'm finding success. There's people who are finding immense value in what I'm delivering, whether it be a service or a product. And even in conversations I've had with others, when you start bringing more and more people into the fold, you have an initial set of people who are really on board. There's a passion, there's a fire. It's usually around this mission and this vision. And then the more and more people you add, it just gets a little more diluted. And it's just common practice within organizations. So I think the first question I want to ask is, how vital are those initial documents or those pieces of information? How vital are they in your work as a leader? And that is the mission, vision, and values.
Okay. Jeff, I think if the statements are genuine and alive in the organization, then I'd say that they are very vital when I have my leadership team together. If they are just words that no one can connect to, then they are just words. And what I mean by that is, everything that the company puts out, like be it press releases or announcements, you should be able to look at that and say, yep, they're walking the talk. Yep,
Mm-hmm.
this fits our mission, vision, and values. And if it's not doing that, or if people are confused about what those words mean, then again, I think they're just words.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think I've heard this said many times, and if you kind of liken it to a human, right? So I think that's kind of the foundation for breathing brands. Is that actually those words should be the pulse of the business. There should be a heartbeat to your work that aligns back to the why. It aligns to where are we going? Where is this ship taking us, and where do we want our customers to see the most value? So I completely agree that they should be more than words. They should be actionable. They should be behaviors, things that are actually lived out to be best represented, not only in our work together, but in our work towards the ones we're serving, which is our customers. Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's great.
Absolutely.
What are ways that you have in the businesses you've worked with connected teams to vision? So you have these words that may or may not mean something to the people that are on your team. How have you connected folks that you've been leading to that vision?
I think every new offering that we put out, I mean, our team is a team that goes out and teaches different types of businesses like CPA firms or other type of businesses how to use our software to make them more efficient. We can
Yep.
connect to that vision in every new offering that we roll out and make sure that we thread it through our purpose as a team. One year,
Yeah.
we concentrated on the book Switch by Chip and Dan Heath.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the entire team read the book, and we based our annual retreat and the different action items for the year on the philosophies that we learned in this book. And we felt that those helped support the vision. We even put together a pile, which is part of in the book Switch, of things that you don't need to use anymore. And we started a big pile, so we had many visuals around our team. In our software and in our verbiage to the clients, we made sure that we were living the vision, and
Yeah.
we felt that this book helped us do that.
Yeah, that's great. I think a lot of times there needs to be some actual practice when it comes to figuring out how do we lead people towards this place.
Yep.
And I think all too often, I love that concept of tabling or putting things, to the side, like, hey, this isn't needed. I think a lot of leaders tend to get sidetracked in either new fancy things, or maybe they are things that they feel like are value added, but they don't align with the vision of the business, which is why I think a lot of organizations get confused. Their teams, their leadership go like, why are we doing this? This doesn't make any sense. So that you do need solid leadership, just as you described, where you're constantly talking through, hey, we've got a new product, a new service, or maybe we're updating something that's existing. Here's why these things align to where we're going. They're very much connected, and if they aren't, to your point, let's table them, or let's
Right.
put them off to the side here where they don't confuse or distract us.
Right. 100%.
Yeah. So leadership is a really interesting thing. I think there are a lot of different perspectives on leadership. I've had the opportunity to work with some really great leaders. There are also some leaders where, even in the last interview I had with Amanda, you learn a lot from leaders that aren't necessarily the best.
Hmm.
And so this is just another question I asked her. What leaders have influenced the way that you have led and engaged the people that you've been in charge of?
There's so many people that I have been fortunate to work with over the years
Mm-hmm.
and such. But I did think about this, and I think number one is Simon Sinek. Simon Sinek has always walked the talk.
Yep.
I have used his why,
Yep.
the whole talk on the golden circle, I think that was called, and
Yep.
the why, and actually our whole team had to go through that, and to this day I am following Simon, and if I find something good, I'll repost it on LinkedIn with my thoughts. So I feel like he has a really solid, good way about him of helping leaders be able to get through some difficult topics, and be some tools to be able to really deal with things as they come up. So I've always been an admirer of Simon.
Yeah, I think the stories that he's shared, that provide so much valuable perspective in really what it means to be a human leader. I think there are so many,
Right.
processes and tools, and I don't want to, those aren't bad things in total. But if you can't be human in the way that you connect with others, I don't think you can lead very well at all. I don't think it doesn't engage people to you, as a leader. And I think that's why, to your point, his work has been really valuable in helping others understand the importance of being human. How do you stay passionate around building engaged and inspired teams? I think Simon's work is one of those ways that you can do that. How have you found other ways to stay kind of curious and passionate around building teams?
Well, this kind of goes back to another couple of leaders that I have really enjoyed working with. One is Dr. Diana Wong. I
Okay.
met Dr. Wong when I worked at Dana Corporation. She taught one of our executive MBA courses. As luck would have it, when I moved on to Thomson Reuters and was more involved with the Ann Arbor network, Diana Wong connected me with the American Society for Training and Development. It was then called ASTD.
Right. Yep.
And
Okay.
the next thing I know, I'm president of the local chapter, Jeff. So Dr. Wong has this incredible way of working with you and helping you, and she and I became great friends, and she attended several of my business meetings when I was at Thomson Reuters. She's an advocate for the local community, and she was someone that if I started to feel overwhelmed or needed to have somebody to run something by, I would reach out to Diana. And
Hmm.
she would always say, keep that fire in your belly,
Yeah.
and that I think is how she helped me see that by this offerings that my team and I offered to our employees, it really helped them get out of some of the drudgery of their work and be
Yep.
able to offer their clients more of a business partnership than more of a than being a vendor. And
Yeah.
talking to her and learning that approach, every time I left a conversation with her, I was just like running back to the office, ready to restart and do something new and get my team fired up. So she was a great inspiration and still is to me today.
That's I think that there's not a lot of discussion about the power of mentorship
Hmm.
and partners that we have in business. I think sometimes leadership can sometimes feel like an island,
Yep.
where we have been put in charge of these people, and whether that be at the highest level, CEO, president, or even director level, manager level, we've been put in charge of these people, and it's our job to lead, right? And
Yep.
the quote unquote guardrails of our business are our mission, vision, values, and we're trying to guide these individuals in unison towards this vision. And it's a ton of work. And not only is it a ton of work to get everybody to walk in alignment together, you have all the human side of it too. So uh, I think that more leaders need partners to be able to bounce ideas off of, or to even just come in for a pep talk and say, "Hey, I'm struggling with X, Y, and Z. I need some perspective." I think that's
Absolutely.
fantastic.
Jeff, there's a funny story I could tell you. When I was at Thomson Reuters, they did not have a real on the ground mentoring program.
Okay.
And a lot of the young people that were coming in, they were support reps. So they took calls from clients who were sometimes frustrated
Yeah.
about why something wasn't working or deadlines or whatever.
Yep.
And so a couple of us leaders, we talked about it'd be great to have a mentoring program. And one of the people that I worked with all the time, terrific person, said, there's no way you can get a mentoring program started here where people are going to volunteer their own time to meet with somebody else to help them.
Mm.
And I said, just get out of my way.
Yeah.
We said, we'll do 50 sets of people. So we'll have 100 people, we'll match them up so that we have 50 mentoring partners.
Yep.
I'll tell you what, we couldn't, we ran out of space so fast it wasn't even funny.
No, that's
And
fantastic.
that was very powerful to the other leaders to see that, I stand by Jeff, and I think you do too. People always want to help other people.
Yes. Yeah.
They want to help, they get a great feeling from it. And I would say, as a mentor, I usually feel like I get more out of it than the mentee.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I completely agree. And I think that I think it's a fantastic example of not only your leadership in that space, but also I do think sometimes everyone can almost feel like they're on an island. And, whether it's I'm just trying to,
Yes,
do my work and do it to the best of my ability, or I'm just trying to lead this group and lead them to the best of my ability. And it almost feels like I need to be able to do this to show my worth and value. Right. And like, I don't need help. I don't need anybody to come alongside. I'm good. But at the end of the day, I think we all need some kind of support mechanism, whether it be in leadership or individual contributors or middle management, whatever the case may be. Someone just say, "Hey, you're on the right track," or "Hey, take this little detour here. Maybe you might want to try this way of approaching things." We all need it.
Yes.
I think it's important.
Yep. Very important, Jeff.
That's fantastic. So we've talked a little bit about how do we stay passionate around building engaged and inspired teams, but how do you keep inspired? How do you keep the, as you had said, the fire in your belly? What drives you in that sense?
Being involved, and really getting to know our clients,
Mm-hmm.
seeing what their pain points are. I mean, that's such an overused word, I know, but our clients do have pain points. And if we really listen to them, and that's a key,
Yep.
active listening, let's really listen to them so that we can give them the help they need, not what we think they need.
Right.
I remember once I inherited a few consultants from another group when I was
Uh-huh.
at Thomson Reuters. And it was great to have new members on the team, but they practiced death by PowerPoint.
Yeah.
So they would go to a client, open up their computer, and go through all these slides to talk to them. And I'm like, put the computer away. How in the world are you going to see their expressions? Have eye contact with them. Notice when they're excited. Notice when they're drifting. Notice how are you going to do that if you just go through your slides? And
Right.
it was a huge challenge for those folks because they were a bit dependent on that. They were
Right.
cookbooking a bit with those
Yep.
slides. And but how powerful when they put them away, looked at the client, listened to them, and sometimes what they ended up, more often than not, I think, Jeff, what they ended up wanting was a little bit different than what we thought when we walked into their
Mm-hmm.
offices.
Yep.
So I think I could write a book on
Yeah.
active listening and how it could affect an organization. I've seen it from both sides. I've seen corporations where I've worked where it really worked well and people did listen. And I credit Thomson Reuters with being very good at that
Yeah.
because so many misunderstandings can happen when we don't. But I absolutely love working with passionate teams that
Yep.
are passionate about something like I just, talked about, an offering where we can go in, listen to the client and make their life easier. And then, we make their dreams a reality.
Yep.
And that's the best feeling in the world.
You just hit the nail on the head right there. So I think most of what inspires people is feeling that they're contributing value to someone else. I
Yes.
just think there's an intrinsic part of our nature that when we are in help of others or when we deliver value to people and help make their lives better, it's just there's another question I have later on, and we're probably answering it right now. But I think there's a personal fulfillment and connection we feel when we do that professionally,
Yes. Yes.
right? Um, I think that there's a lot of inspiration we can gain when we work towards something, and that something, in my opinion, is a mission or a vision. And I think much of it just seems to get again diluted, but I think that's what's inspiring. It's that story of the bricklayers, where you've got 3 bricklayers and a person's walking down the street and he asks the first bricklayer, what are you building? He's like, oh, I'm just laying bricks. You ask the second person, he's, oh, we're building some kind of building here. I'm not sure really what it is, but it's going to be big. And then he asks the third bricklayer, and the bricklayer says, I'm building a place of worship where millions of people will come and worship God. And it's like that person had the perspective.
Yes.
They understood what their role was. And I think many people just get lost. It gets lost. They're the first bricklayer. I'm just
Right.
coming in and punching the time
Right.
clock, and I'm just doing my thing.
Yeah. We never wanted our teams to say, I'm just a trainer.
That's right.
I'm just a consultant.
Right.
You are a partner with this firm to make them successful.
Yeah.
And they would come to we called them partner summits. The clients would come sometimes and they'd be so frustrated and so exhausted from the hours that they put in.
Right.
And after the day and a half that they spent talking with us and other CPAs that have been successful and showing us without selling a product, we didn't need to sell a product to
Right.
teach them how to do this. Sometimes the products helped, but that wasn't the goal,
Yeah.
selling a product. The product sold itself when you showed them how much we could help them with their time. And oftentimes people would leave being very emotional.
Yeah.
Like they finally felt like they had a lifeline to be able to get out of having to work 100 hours a week every
Yeah.
week.
Yeah. No, I that's fantastic. So this is getting a little more into the people side of things, but
Okay.
what is the one thing you've learned about people or managing people in your role?
I agree with you that overall people want to make a difference. I have always believed
Hmm.
that the seat that they sit on the bus and again, that sounds so trivial, but what a difference. There was a young lady that worked on our team in more of a coordination job where she had to, assign different instructors to different offerings, and it was very
Yeah.
tedious. She applied for a different job with me, to be involved more with innovation. And I thought, I'm not sure she's going to be good at this because her attitude isn't always terrific.
Yep.
But I had a couple other people interview with me, and they said, if this is what you say you want, she definitely fits the bill.
Yeah.
So I took a risk and I put her in that job. It was like a light bulb went off.
That's
you
awesome.
know, just seeing people in the role that they need. So that became very important to me.
Yeah.
I would work with people on the team and say, okay, this is what you're doing now. What do you want to be doing? I know we always ask people, what's your 3 and 5 year plan? That
Yeah.
isn't what
Yeah.
we did. We
Right.
more said, what makes you excited? When you
Yeah.
look around here, I'd really like to get involved with these thought leadership things. I'd really like to get involved at the year-end tax. I'd really like to, and we worked hard to get people to those positions,
Yep.
because if you listen to a person with understanding and work
Uh-huh.
with them about things they're passionate about, it's the best feeling in the world. And that's something I learned about people. Take the time to really get to know them. I knew everybody on my team, over 100 people, quite well.
Yep.
And some were there in the office, some were virtual, but there's great ways to know people. And I felt like myself and the rest of my leadership team could speak to every single person and what they wanted for their goal to make them feel really fulfilled and excited about their job.
That's fantastic. No, I think that is the sign of a great leader is just being able to understand your people and know your people.
And you had to be honest with them sometimes,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Oh, for
One
sure.
person really wanted to be a leader, and I said to him, you just don't have what I see that takes right now,
Yeah.
and I think you're gonna get discouraged, but if you're willing to work with me and,
Yep.
do this, and this, and give it a little time, let's see if we can make it happen. So,
Yeah.
it's all also honest feedback, Jeff.
Yeah.
You gotta tell them the truth and grace, right? There's there's a way to tell people the truth, and if you don't tell them, they're gonna be able to tell that you're not being
Yep.
genuine.
That's right. That's a great segue to the next question, which is what do you believe that most people need to hear and be reminded of? It's a question that Mel Robbins, I heard her ask one time, and I
Yes.
just thought, wow, what a poignant question to ask, because we're all we all work with people for the most part, and
Yep,
we all need
yep.
something. And so I think I found it an interesting question to ask. So what do you believe most people need to hear and be reminded of?
That they have to be true to themselves and their passions, that they can't always do
Hmm.
everything at the same time. Um, I remember one time I had a woman that worked for me, and she was a manager, and she had her second child, and she came back to work, and I said, "Okay, how do you want to do this? What are you thinking?" And
Hmm.
all, and she goes, "Well, I have a good friend, and she and her husband both work, and she has a fabulous career, and she's a great mother, and she can do it all at once." And I said, "Tell
Yeah.
me more. Tell me about her
Yeah.
husband's job." "Well, he works at home." They don't both travel.
Yeah.
They don't both, I mean,
Yeah.
I just had to dig a little bit, and I didn't want to burst her
Right.
bubble, but what she was saying was totally unrealistic, and she had a new baby here. So I
Right.
worked with her, and this is, a great story, and we're very good friends now. And said to her, "You just cannot do everything well at the same time." And I tell
Right.
people this all the time when they ask about work-life balance. I'm like, there is no balance. Sometimes it's
That's
80%
right.
work and 20% family, and sometimes it's 80% family and 20% work. You just got to figure it out. And,
Yeah.
so I think that people like to hear the truth. They like for,
Yeah.
to be true to yourself and your passions. What do you want? And how do you
Uh-huh.
balance your life to get there? And if you're working for a company that isn't working with you, then it's probably time to move on, because there are a lot of good companies out there that will work with you. And there's a lot of good leaders that will have your back if you are willing to commit to it.
Yeah. I think that's a great perspective. And I honestly think that's why I feel so passionate around mission, vision, and values, because I think that if you are in the service of an organization or a business, you I can't, it's almost like the truth telling, right?
Yes.
If you are not passionate about that work, everyone will know it. From the customer down to your coworkers, down to your subordinates, whatever it might be, they will know. It's like getting served a sandwich from someone who doesn't care about what they just put together.
Yep.
That you just know, like, there was no care put together in any of this, and I'm just it. And I feel like whether it's the truth or whether it's, we want to help you find really what you're after. I think the honesty of being in relationship with people, whether it be professional or personal, it's digging to find the nuggets of truth, that connection to value that I think most people want to hear.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah. What are ways that help you stay grounded in who you are, and how important your contributions are?
Well, my faith is very important to me, Jeff, as you well know.
Yep. Yep.
I am a Christian woman, and I talk to God every day about what I'm doing, and the struggles and the celebrations. So faith is keeps me grounded.
Yep.
I am
That's
blessed to have
awesome.
a wonderful, loving family and so many dear and precious friends. A wonderful family is not something you can take for granted. I mean, we hear
Hmm.
stories all the time. And so I am so blessed and thankful that I was born into a family that loved me, and I knew nothing but love, and that continues today. I
That's
think you
fantastic.
have to have your village of people, which is family and friends, and
Hmm.
keeping in touch with them keeps you humble and empathetic. I
Yep.
am a big, you know this about me too. I'm a big believer in writing the personal note, writing a
Yep.
thank you. Our team would write thank yous every time that we had a business meeting or anything. If anybody came and spoke at it, we would write them a thank you for coming and speaking to our team. And I can't tell you the number of times, a pretty senior executive would reach out to me and say, "Wow, I can't tell you the last time I've gotten one of these thank you kind
Oh,
of
that's
cards."
awesome.
So,
Yep.
just reminding people that it's important to say thank you, and it's important to be appreciative. And none of us are worth anything without each other. We've got to
Yeah.
work together. We've got to stay with each other. We're here to help one another, meet the goals that we're here for. And hopefully, there's a great reward at the end. I'm not going to get too
Yeah.
much into the faith stuff,
Yeah.
but I mean, that's certainly what keeps me grounded. Is I'm a human being like anybody else. I make mistakes. I own up to them, and you move on.
Yeah. I love that perspective. And I do think, I think when I think I've been focusing a lot on words lately and the meaning of words. And especially when we talk about, we throw around the words mission, vision, and values, and we all generally know what it is they mean, but those words have meaning, and the words that are there you actually said in the very beginning, those words have meaning. So when I look at the word stay grounded, I think there's a humanity in work and in our personal lives that oftentimes we're moving so stinking fast that we don't have time to stop. And to you had said write a note. Like, when's the last time I wrote a note? I can't even remember, but wrote a note to someone that helped me with something. But I think there's a very human
Mhm.
side of that word, of those words, stay grounded in who you are as a person, because that is who we are. That is, to your point, what connects us is that we're all people, and we're all here, and we all might be, driving in different lanes, but we're all passing one another. I think those are very important connections that keep us grounded in who we are as people.
Very well said, Jeff.
So you mentioned Simon Sinek. I'm a fan of his as well, and I love this question because I think it kind of gets to the heart of who we are as people. But what is your why, and why do you do what you do?
I care. I care
Yeah.
about my family, my friends, my neighbors, my coworkers. Being able to be here for them and make their lives better is my why. That's why I do what I
Mm-hmm.
do. That's why I take the time to go visit a neighbor if they're not feeling well. Or I have a friend that I met here in North Carolina whose husband had to go into memory care, and she's a bit lonely. So I really
Mm-hmm.
enjoy her company, and I make
Yep.
it a point and a priority to spend time with her because I want to make a positive difference in her life. And I want her to
Yeah.
feel better about herself and have some things to look forward to. Once I did have a leadership meeting, Jeff, and all the leaders on my staff had to work on their why and give them to the team.
Yeah.
It was not an easy assignment, but it was very worthwhile because when even when I thought about it right now, my why has probably changed over the years, but the
Yeah.
why I'm here definitely now is I I I want to be there. I want to be that rock for my family. I want to be there. I was there for my mother until she passed away, and I felt good about the relationship and time we spent together. But to me, this is what it's all about: is people, the people around
Yeah.
us, and most people are very, very good. And most people
Yeah.
want to do good things and to take care of others. And that's why I care.
That's awesome. I am so thankful for the time that we've had to have this conversation. The work that we've done together in the past has always been just really positive memories for me, and to be able to kind of revisit some of those in our conversation today has been great. I know that a lot of people are going to walk away from hearing this conversation with a lot of value, a lot of great leadership points and perspective. So thank you for taking the time to talk today, Gene.
Thank you. And I had the same feelings about when you and I worked together. There was a lot of good work done and a lot of great things came out of it. And it was a positive and uplifting experience. Thank you, Jeff.
You've been listening to the Breathing Brand podcast. Until next time, I hope you make every breath count.